evening, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the NE Patriots Talk Film Breakdowns here on the NE Patriots Talk channel. And today, we're going to be breaking down Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, fifth rounder out of Florida State. I cannot wait to see some of his film. We're going to be discussing his bio, his strengths and weaknesses, and whatnot. But in this episode, I got my boy Austin here. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, doing good. Very long work week, but I'm so excited to talk football. I don't know. We got the first football game of the season, essentially, even though it's preseason, on tonight. So really looking forward to that. Just football being back in general. When football's back, everything's good. So,
yeah, I'm so excited for tonight. I know that the game will be at 8, so I'm trying my best to make it as quick as possible just so that we get all the film out, we get everything out, but at the same time, we're here for entertainment. Things have been going crazy, especially with Patriots training camp. A lot has been going on IRL, so yeah, it's life, man. But as usual, before we get started, please make sure as you come in that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps supports the channel. And throughout the show, please post in your questions and comments in the YouTube chat. We would love to read them at the very end of the film breakdown. But let's start off with the biography or the breakdown of Joshua Farmer. So Austin, if you don't mind, can you give the audience of who Joshua Farmer is? Why did the Patriots select him in the 5th round?
Yeah, for sure. So Joshua Farmer, he's 6'3", 312 pounds. He played college at FSU, Florida State University, from 2020 to 2024, playing multiple different roles on that defensive line for them. His hometown is Port St. Joe, Florida, which I guess from looking up, very few NFL players come from there, so that's something to look forward to. What I have in my profile summary is Joshua Farmer is a long, powerful defensive tackle with elite measurables and raw disruption ability, drafted to be a developmental 3-tech at Mike Vrabel's front. A Florida State product who matured into a team leader and strength standout. Farmer flashes explosive traits and scheme versatility, but he does need refinement in technique, stamina, and consistency to maximize himself in the NFL.
Interesting. So, as far as I know that we have some stats to break down, especially considering that Florida State as a school, they didn't have the best season last season, but the season prior, Joshua Farmer broke out, but that was when they had some of the players who are in the league right now. They had Keon Coleman. They had Jaheim Bell, who the Patriots drafted in the 7th round last year. And they had Jordan Travis, who unfortunately medically retired. But we're focusing on Joshua Farmer, as we all know. So his accomplishments and his stats have been, I'm going to take a look at my notes, that he was a redshirt as a freshman, played all 13 games as a sophomore, earning freshman honorable mention honors, broke out in 2023. So I don't think he was in the mix from 2020 to 2022, but in 2023, when Florida State had their best season, he played 13 games where he had 32 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks, earning him second team all ACC recognition. And then finally his senior year, which unfortunately was one of, if not one of their worst seasons, he still matched the same production of his junior year with 32 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks, earning all ACC honorable mention honors and the Bobby Bolden Leadership Award. Leadership was a part of his game and was one of the best players on Florida State. The key word is leadership. And we all know that Mike Vrabel values leaders in the locker room and on the field. And if you don't draft leaders, you get you go nowhere. And that was the biggest problem, as I alluded to before in past streams, that we had zero leadership, zero accountability, and with Joshua Farmer potentially going to be one of those future guys, I'm excited to see him as a leader for the New England Patriots. And it was also reported that during his Senior Bowl and Combine, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see any of those footage. So during his Combine, he had an impressive 5.11 40-yard dash time. It was his work in the drills that impressed teams. The class was stacked defensive line group, having well over 60 guys with high draft grades at edge and defensive tackle. Had Florida State live up to its expectations the year prior and carried their momentum of their 13-win season into last year, it's possible that he could have been a higher draft pick. We took him in the, we took him in the 5th round at pick 137, or excuse me, a 4th round, I don't know exactly, where we traded up to get him, was viewed as a steal and a good player for rebuilding team by numerous draft analysis. So I like Joshua Farmer as a prospect the moment it came out of the draft. But what were your initial thoughts on the day of the draft when we selected Joshua Farmer?
Yeah, so I think it made a lot of sense, especially with, at the time I still don't think we really knew like if Barmore is going to be 100% ready to go. So I think D tackle was definitely this nagging need on the team outside of the obvious ones on the offensive line. But like Mike Vrabel preach coming into taking the New England Patriots coaching job, he's going to build the trenches and we're going to like preach physicality, violent play. And I think Joshua Farmer totally embodies exactly that. Williams, the defensive coordinator, I know he hasn't been like super involved because of his illness, but I believe he was even quoted as like saying like he's got some of the most violent hands in the draft and he's just very excited to work with him. I just think because of the uncertainty with Christian Barmore, it was just like a slam dunk type of play. And I think, like you said, he was off some people's radars because of the overall down year that FSU had. I think if FSU did have a positive year, then you probably would have seen him go maybe a round or two earlier with some of those other guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was also reported that it could also, because I know that Joshua Farmer had a couple of injuries, but they were not as serious as some of the other injuries to like some of the other college players at the collegiate level. So it was reported that he did have a thumb injury, but do you think that thumb injury might affect his gameplay, or it was just some small injury and regardless he still racked up some ridiculous stats?
Yeah, to be honest, I think a thumb injury or a finger injury, something like that, I really don't think that limits your ability to play. I mean, take a look at Jason Pierre-Paul for the Giants and later for the Bucks winning a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. Hell, he blew his hand off with fireworks, lost nearly all his fingers on one hand, still went on to play and won a couple Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken, one with the Giants and one with the Bucks. So, I mean, you're looking at a guy that didn't need fingers to succeed. So personally, I don't think a finger injury really hinders you. If it was something else, maybe, he tore something in his shoulder, similar to what Josh Simmons is going through with the Chiefs and having to do that recovery process, I definitely would be more worried, but I'm really not with just a thumb injury.
Yeah. Also, as I was reading the some of like the stats in the bio, that there were times where he also, before he played defensive tackle, he played defensive end. So basically he played as like an edge rusher, excuse me. So is there a reason for why the coaches wanted Farmer to switch over from edge rusher to defensive tackle?
I think the reason was just they loved his skill set, and I think they saw the vision of him being able to produce in multiple spots on the line. But in order to do that, he needed to put on some weight. I believe when he was playing defensive end, he weighed in at just about 250 pounds. And then throughout his career at FSU, he ended up being able to put on a lot of muscle, bulked up. Now he's 312. You're talking 60, almost 70 pounds gain. And the dude's just a beast. Apparently, his teammates call him Baby Hulk because after the weight gain, he was able to squat over 600 pounds and he can bench press 400 pounds, like over that. So to me, like, dude's just a monster. And I think they saw the vision, they saw his skill set, and they just said, why not? Why can't he play everything? And he's shown up to this point that he can play on multiple positions on the line. I do think that's something that Vrabel values in this defense.
Yeah. And before we move on, we see that we have 5 viewers in the chat. And please make sure that, as always, please make sure that you smash the like button if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, which you should have, please make sure that you click the subscribe button. It's completely free and helps supports the channel in a massive way. Our goal is to get to at least 100 subscribers. We're now at 79 subscribers as far as I know. It would be nice if you guys hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. It's completely free and helps make the production a lot better. And if at it, please make sure that you're posting your questions and comments throughout the show. We would love to read them, but let's now focus on his strengths and weaknesses that we can see coming out of Joshua Farmer for the upcoming NFL season. So what we do know about Joshua Farmer is that his explosive first step jumps off the tape, particularly when aligned at 3 tech. His elite quickness time puts him in a rare company for a 318-pound defender, as you alluded to, Austin, that he did bulk up a lot from when he was a defensive end to a defensive tackle. So I'm really excited to see how he can like be that. I wouldn't say starter yet, but I'm going to ask you this, Austin. Do you think that that Farmer has the potential to be a starter this upcoming season, or he needs to be like further developed, maybe sit behind like Williams and Barmore, or maybe be like a rotational piece?
Yeah, so I think as it stands right now, Farmer is more of a rotational piece. Now, that doesn't mean a path can't be paved for him to carve out a bigger role than that. It entirely depends on, if Barmore stays healthy, if maybe another defensive lineman goes down. Like I said, he has the versatility to play different positions. So say a Keon White maybe goes down, maybe that's somewhere where he could fill in. Right now, like my early season projection, I have him just as a developmental piece coming in on like third down work and just getting in behind the starters. By midseason, he could have an increased rotational role if he just improves some of his techniques. And I really think he'll excel in like some of the pass packages with Barmore and Williams. And then I think his ceiling is if his motor and pass rush moves develop, he has real potential to be, a 3-down starter by, next year. And I don't think that's far-fetched. I mean, the dude has all the physical tools needed. I think his biggest weakness is his stamina. I think because he went from 250 pounds to over 310 pounds, the stamina and your ability to move takes a massive hit. So I think it's just about building yourself up. And like, I think Vrabel and them are going to do a fantastic job at giving him that quickness. But right now he really struggles. Like if the play lasts longer than, 3-4 seconds, we're really starting to see him, huff and puff. He's dogging out there. He's very explosive off the get-go, but he just needs to make it where he can stick at that speed off the get-go where he doesn't, come down from that high.
Yeah, especially when you have like a defensive coordinator in Terrell Williams who has a track record when it comes to developing defensive tackles. Like he worked with DJ Reader, he worked with Jeffrey Simmons, and he did work with some of the edge rushers and Aiden Hutchinson. He worked with Harold Landry, who is now with the team with us. So basically, I could see the potential that he can develop Joshua Farmer to be somewhat like, I wouldn't say like a Jeffrey Simmons, because we already somewhat have a Jeffrey Simmons in either Barmore and Milton Williams. So I could see him being more of like a rotational piece, probably like to play in certain packages on the defense, either to like go up against some of like these mobile quarterbacks, go stuffing the runs. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he has the potential to be for this upcoming season. Let's see what else we have. So he has a nasty push-pull swim combination, regularly puts interior linemen on skates, showing the violence and timing to separate in tight quarters. Natural leverage player who can get under offensive linemen's pads when he stays disciplined, when he gets off. Absolutely dominated the Cal game with this trait. We will take a look at that play from Cal, and mind you guys that we will be using a clip from ACC's digital network. So basically, we're going to be using the footage as for commentary, so we're not trying to get copyrighted or anything. Heavy hands pack a serious punch on initial contact, constantly shocking guards back and resetting the line of scrimmage. He brings serious juice as a pass rusher when he has a plan. Showed he can stack moves together with his club swim and rip counters. Frame carries mass extremely well with thick lower half and broad shoulders that suggest room for additional good weight. Flashes the ability to stack and shed with proper extension, particularly impressive against Clemson's interior line in 2023. And high-level athlete for the position who closes space in a hurry. Rare movement skills for a man in size. However, pad level is wildly inconsistent. Will flash perfect leverage one snap, then stand straight up the next, negating his natural power. Struggles mightily against double teams and needs significantly technical refinement in his anchor. Gets washed out too easily. Pass rush plan comes and goes. Too many wasted rushes where he just pushing forward without purpose or counter moves. Can get caught playing too high against zone schemes, allowing offensive linemen to reach him and seal running lanes. Timing on his block shredding needs work. Often a beat late disengaging with limits his impact in the run game. So like there are some inconsistencies with Joshua Farmer, but I don't, which is why he was a 5th rounder. So yeah, I think that he will have the potential to be a Pro Bowl caliber defensive tackle, but I just don't think that he could be like a starting defensive tackle because you got so much depth at defensive tackle. So where would you rank Joshua Farmer with all of the depth at defensive tackle?
So obviously like Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, 1 and 2. I would probably have to put Jeremiah Farms at 3. And then you're probably talking a tie between Kiris Tonga and Joshua Farmer. And I mean, I'll give the edge to Farmer because I just think he's more versatile than Kiris Tonga. Not to discredit Tonga because Tonga fills a certain role that we need, which is a run gap stopper. Just takes up space where like Farmer is like definitely more pass rush oriented. I think he struggles against the run. So, but I do think he's probably like 4th on that defensive tackle depth chart.
So without further ado, let's get started with the film breakdown, and we will start with a game against Memphis, if I'm not mistaken. All of these clips, by the way, are from the 2024 season, so unfortunately, we won't be able to see his clips from his breakout season. But without further ado, let's head over to. No, I lied. This is actually up against Cal, but we'll start off with this clip against Cal, so we can see from a close-up view. Originally, you could see like from the sideline, but let's take a look at this play, and then we can discuss it from an analytical view. But we see Farmer as number 5, goes at it, and it just comes up at the edge and then just bull rushes him. So what were some of the things that you like from Joshua Farmer in this clip as an example?
Yeah, so I think he has an elite like get off, because if you notice right there, he's instantly like pushing off the second that ball's hiked, engaging with that defensive lineman, and then kind of holding that tackle at bay until like he's keeping contained, like he's setting the edge. As you saw there, like the quarterback starts to make an attempt to kind of roll out, and he's just able to shut that down instantly.
Yeah. And you definitely want to see that, especially that you want to see a powerhouse in Joshua Farmer. And I know that we alluded to the fact that he won't be like your starting defensive tackle, but what I do know is that once you get like a at least he could be like a depth piece. He's definitely a depth piece. He could be a rotational piece. And Andy alluded to that the current defensive coordinator, right? I would say we haven't seen much out of Terrell Williams yet, but I know that the current acting defensive coordinator is Zach Kerr. So basically he was with the I would say inside linebacker. So basically not like your typical like positional coach to work with, but at least that Zach Kerr can find ways to help him tune his technique. So what are your thoughts on Zach Kerr being like the acting defensive coordinator, even though that Terrell Williams is your current defensive coordinator?
I think it only helps the team. I mean, if anything, the only thing it would hurt is Williams' chemistry with the players, right? But from what I understand, Williams has been engaged with the players, whether it's through text or video call, and constantly keeping up with them. I think it's just a matter of, nobody suspected Christian Barmore to have the injury he had with the blood clots. It's probably something similar with Williams. So I think it only benefits the Patriots players. I'm sure the interim defensive coordinator definitely reports to Williams, and probably just he acts as a middleman to do what Williams can't do, which is be there. So like I said, I think that only helps the team, if anything.
Oh, interesting. But let's now head over to the next play. And this one was against SMU. And we know that SMU was one. I think they were the champions. They were the ACC champions. So we all thought it was Miami because of Cam Ward, but that's not the case, because SMU is one of the best, if not the best, schools in the college football league. So let's take a look at this play going up against SMU. This was week 5, I think it was. So it's hard to tell, but we could see Joshua Farmer bull rushing at that guy, at the quarterback. So let's take a look at that play again. What were some of the things that you see in this clip right here? Because besides the fact that you see him like bull rushing into the quarterback, because there was like a gap between the center and the right guard, I think. I couldn't get a clear view.
Yeah, I just need another replay because I'm trying to figure out where he lined up, because it's a little low quality.
Yeah.
So right there, it looks like he does his push-pull technique there. That seems to be his favorite, like bull rush technique, where he engages with the block to push the guy, and then he instantly like pulls back on him. Because if you look, it looks like he's lined up over the center, and he just like push-pulls 51 out of the way, and then just has a clear lane to sack the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. And here, okay, this is where we get a better view from this.
Yeah.
From the backs of the quarterback. So basically, and this is what you really want to see for a defensive tackle going up against a caliber offensive line, especially from a school at this high level. But how do you think if Joshua Farmer were to be a starter, just for a scenario, how will he fare up against like top tier offensive lines like the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens O line, for example?
You'd probably have to compare it similarly to how do you think Will Campbell would hold up against like a defensive line for the first time. I think like anything with rookies, it's going to take time. It's going to take multiple reps for them to develop. I don't think like if you told me today that Milton Williams tore his ACL or whatever, and now Joshua Farmer's going in, I'm definitely not slamming the panic button, but I'm definitely not as calm, cool, and collected as I would be. But I think ultimately it would just take reps and time for him, and maybe it's week 6 where you start seeing him come into his own. Like it's just going to take time, especially against some of those top of the lines, like you were saying, the Ravens. Like I don't know, that's tough to say if he had to verse him, right off the rip. But I just think once he gets live NFL reps, it definitely helps having come from the ACC. So yeah.
Yeah, but let's head back to the beginning of the video because I think we haven't touched up on like the Memphis clips, and the Memphis clips show how he did up against the run, up against like how you can force the quarterback to like be outside of the pocket, making him use his legs when I think like some of his like weapons have been covered by the secondary. So let's take a look at that. So this is the first clip up against Memphis. So we see. So it's hard to see from that angle, but it looks like. Let's get it from. Okay, so we could see it from this angle. We see Joshua Farmer lining up against the right guard.
Yep.
If I'm correct, yeah. So he's going up against the right guard. You can see that he went between the right guard and the center, just plowing these 2 linemen, and then shifts to his right to get the quarterback, basically forcing him to like be outside the pocket. I really enjoyed these I really enjoyed these kind of plays. Do you think that Joshua Farmer might want to be consistent with these kind of plays, or he could just try to be more creative than just like bull rushing at like a quarterback?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, one of his big strengths is his bull rush moves and technique, but he really lacks, like, a lot of the finesse moves. And I think, like, if he can work those types of things into his game where, he's doing spin moves or, just swiping arms or what have you, trying to blow past people, just mixing it up. You know what I mean? Like, bull rush works every now and again, but you can't expect unless you're like Vince Wilfork to get through on a bull rush every play.
Yeah. Is it like similar to Keon White when we drafted him, considering that we know that? So I don't know if I would compare him to Keon White during their times in college, because I know that both of their talents are somewhat like raw. So like, would you see that kind of comparison during both Farmer's time in college and Keon White's time in college, or they're completely different?
No, I definitely could see that comparison, and I think it benefits Farmer more just because I think Keon White obviously has had to go through the trials and tribulations of going through a Belichick, team that seemed like it was on the rise with Mac Jones, and then the fall, and then, going through with all the multiple different personnel changes on the staff, then switching to Gerard Mayo, which was frankly a shit show. And then now having Vrabel, like Keon White had to work through it, and I think he's better for it. But I think Farmer benefits because he's just coming into this immediately being able to work with Vrabel, where he's being molded into the player that Vrabel wants him to be. Where like Keon White, say Vrabel wants him to be someone, like it's quite possible Keon's got to unlearn some things to learn some new things, if that makes sense.
So before we move on to the next play, I'm looking through my phone, and it seems like this live stream currently we're at 10 likes, so that's really good. But if you really want to see us continue doing the breakdowns, I will be doing a breakdown with Tyler, aka Paperways, on Jared Wilson at some point, and then at the very end of August, we will be doing. We have a huge project coming up with me, Austin, Andy, and Tyler. So you do not want to miss out. And if you really want to see that, go click that subscribe button. It's completely free and helps supports the channel in a massive way. You do not want to miss it. But let's head over to another clip against Memphis. And basically, I bet you that Farmer's lined up against that right guard over there. Even though I don't think he solely did it, but that's just with the help of his teammates just applying a lot of pressure for the defensive line. So from your point of view, Austin, what did you see from this play right here?
Yeah, press play again, please. All right, so
we got the arrows here to probably signifying like where each of the defensive player from the line would like attack.
So yeah, it's like a switch gap concept where it's, you know, the defensive tackle lined up on the right makes it seem like he's going in like straight on, and then he'll commit to the left. It's like an X, and then Joshua Farmer obviously pretends like he's committing to the left and then cuts to the right. It's a pretty common thing in the NFL, but it often leaves one of the two like wide open if they don't have a running back blocking, which is what you see here. You see Joshua Farmer have lateral quickness to commit to the left, bounce right back out the right, get the edge on the blocker, and then just absolutely maul the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. And then I think we're gonna have a final, and this is gonna be the final play up for today. So this is up against the run. Those first four plays that you see were against the pass. So when we look at the tape, Austin, do you see Farmer thriving against the run or against the pass?
As of right now, I really see him excelling more against the pass. I just think he benefits a lot from his quick get off, violent hands, quickness. I think he really still needs help with his block shedding. It's been very inconsistent. Like, he really struggles in disengaging against zone runs, and his pursuit effort outside the tackle box is very hit or miss. Like I said, if that play runs, more than 4 seconds, like, you see his stamina take a considerable hit. So I just think he's better at the pass rush at this time, but even then, like you alluded to earlier, pad level balance, like, it's very inconsistent. It seems like he has a lot of the physical traits and a lot of, the mental traits that you love, but it's just, we can't have it where it's one play he does great, and then the next play it's like he had a mind wipe from Men in Black and he can't remember what he's supposed to do. So yeah, I just think he's better on the pass. I think on this play, though, he does a really good job exploding against the run.
Yep, and we see the tight end heading over, switching areas, and then it's hard to tell, but I could see that I think that Joshua Farmer just went up the gut and then just pushed 22 off. And that just shows how the strength that he has, considering that he did bulk up to 300 pounds. So basically, you get a powerful guy, but you just see some of these raw talents. And we saw some of that in training camp. I don't know if I have like any of like the notes from training camp, but let's take a look. I'm just gonna pull up some of like the some of like the notes from like some of like the what is it? Let me just pull up like notes from training camp. So let me find it. It has to do something with Joshua Farmer, because I know that there were times where Joshua Farmer gets beaten against Will Campbell. So basically let's see if I can find, I don't know which day it was where if Will Campbell put him to the ground, but let me just quickly find it. I know he was like limited in some of the he was limited in some of the days. So where is it? Man, it's hard finding these notes, to be honest. So where is it? Maybe I can find it some other time, but I know for a fact that there were times where Joshua Farmer could be violent, but that there are times that he gets pancaked, and there's some things that the Joshua Farmer can work on, like in general, when it comes to like his technique and whatnot. But let's now head over to like some of like the final questions before we end off this stream. So like, when it came to the draft, do you think that it was the right decision for Elliott Wolf to trade up and get Joshua Farmer, or if there's like someone else we could have like drafted at defensive tackle, but someone a little more better with more finesse and talent?
I think it's a good move. I mean, day 3, right? Like,
yeah,
you go and get your guys. I know we said that about like Craig Woodson, but it's the same thing here. Joshua Farmer, like it's like a Braden Swinson situation. Like the fact that we got both of them, I think makes this pick feel even sweeter, because we traded up for this guy, but now we had to wait longer to take Swinson, but we still get Swinson. Like, I think that's just like the cherry on top. Yeah, I have no problem with the staff, especially this staff, committing if they truly believe like that's the guy they need for this team. And I think that's what they needed, so they went ahead and did it.
Yeah. Would you consider Joshua Farmer to be like one of the steals in the draft, or it's too early to tell? We need to see like more footage out of him, either for like the preseason training camp and maybe like a couple games of the of this upcoming season.
Yeah, I definitely want to see more out of him. I think it's easy from a fan's perspective to see every player that you draft for your favorite team and be like, oh, that guy's the steal of the draft. Oh, this guy's the steal of the draft. Oh, this guy projected him to be here, and oh, we got him, later. It's easy to just sit there and be that. Realistically, I think if anyone has a shot at being the steal of the draft, I think you would probably consider Kyle Williams first and foremost. Maybe even Henderson, because they were saying Henderson should have gone like mid first. Like, some people considered him one of the better running backs in this draft. So I would put them ahead. I think Farmer definitely needs more time, and it's just something we'll have to wait and see. It's not as clear cut.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see some of that on when it comes to like joint practice. Like I said, I will be heading over to a training camp this coming Wednesday to watch the joint practice, so I can see all of the players, whether they're veterans, UDFAs, rookies, and practice squad bodies going up against another team, just so we can get a general idea of how these players operate. I'm curious to see if Joshua Farmer has the potential to go up against some of these players from an opposing opponent. Commanders being a good example, because Commanders, obviously they went to the NFC Championship, so this would be an ultimate test for some of these players, especially coming from when you're drafted from a Vrabel regime, there's so many high expectations for all the players. But final question, Austin, before we log off is what are our expectations for Joshua Farmer this upcoming season?
I just want him to have a similar role to Jeremiah Farms, where you're just a solid rotational piece at the bare minimum. You come in, you make the stops when you need to make stops. You flash here and there. I'm not expecting you to be Milton Williams. I'm not expecting you to be Christian Barmore or Keon White or Harold Landry, like tried and proven players. I'm just expecting you to come into your own, like take everything in, learn from these guys that are trying to teach you, because at the end of the day, they want you to succeed. They want you to, better their football team. They're going to take the time to get you improved and get you where you need to be. He just needs to have faith that they'll get him there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, because he's a fifth rounder. It's not like he's like a first rounder or like a second rounder where we're giving him like so much of the load that he has to be like a superhero. And we don't want to be a hero because he has so much raw talent. I would rather draft a guy that has the raw talent and then sit behind like your two top dogs in Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, considering that we give them big contracts. So like, I would rather, my expectations for Joshua Farmer is to play in these certain roles that are best for him, but at the same time, try to tune some of like his weaknesses. Like he can be a bull rusher, but at the same time, when going up against some of like these mediocre offensive lines, he has to like take advantage of like their mishaps and solidify them, because we do not want to see a defensive tackle just bull rushing the quarterback and then get like a roughing the passer penalty, because we do not want any of these kind of penalties.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, I think he only benefits from having, Milton Williams and Christian Barmore in front of him, because the weight's entirely off his shoulder. Like Barmore and Williams, like they're considered every down guys that are going to have to come in, and they have super high expectations. Farmer, the expectation is get better. Like just refine everything, get better, improve your skills. Like that's all they really are asking of you, especially like you said, because he is a late round pick. It's a little different with Henderson or even Will Campbell, where it's like, we draft you this high because you're the only person that can play and we need you right now. It's like Farmer, that's not even the case. Like I said, he's fourth on the depth chart, maybe even fifth if you want to give Tonga the nod over that. So just learn, develop, practice your game.
Yeah, and Paper Waves, Tyler brings up a really good point. Like he gives a really good example with like the Eagles defensive line rotating players a lot of guys too. And exactly, you see a lot of like, you guess why Howie Roseman is the god of drafting being a general manager, because when you look at the defensive line, you have so many like good players on the defensive line. Well, Milton Williams was one of these players, but you have a vicious guy in Jalen Carter. And Milton Williams, even though like we gave him like a big contract before he was that kind of guy, he at least support and be like contributing to like all these key sacks in like these key games when they're under the bright light. So like if Joshua Farmer can do that in like some of the games where it's big time, like these preseason games against the Bills, against the Jets, against the Giants, he could potentially increase his stock. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he could be like the future for the New England Patriots defensive line. Would you consider seeing him being like the future for the Patriots defense, or he could be like traded to another team for a needy defensive tackle team?
Yeah, I just think it's too early to tell if he's going to be, a staple on this team for years to come. I think the good news is outside of Barmore and Williams, it is kind of wide open. I mean, I do like Jeremiah Farms, but that's just because he's been with the team. He knows the system, consistency, like that's all we can ask for. But really outside of those three, like he could carve a role. I'm unsure of how big of a role that is going to be at this time.
Yeah, but that's going to be it for today's live stream. remember, guys, if you really enjoyed this live stream, please make sure that you click this click the like button as usual. And if you really want to see more of these kind of videos or live streams like this, please make sure that you click the subscribe button. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And leave a comment down below of what you liked from Joshua Farmer. And if you want, if you think Joshua Farmer is your favorite player, great. If you don't think that he has the potential, that's fine with me. But just give out your thoughts in the comment section below. We would love to hear it. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.